Whether the Fold 7 is your first Samsung device, or you've been on the foldable bandwagon since the original Fold, this video will get you up and running with the most important features, including some that nobody's talking about. So let's start with some of the basic steps and work our way up to some truly powerful changes that you definitely won't want to miss. The first thing you want to do anytime you get a new Samsung device is make sure that you transfer all of the data from your previous device to your new device without missing anything. And the best way to do that is with Samsung's built-in application called Smart Switch. If I tap Receive on this phone, you'll see that I can transfer data from any Android device or even any iPhone or iPad. So just select which device you're transferring from and follow the prompts. Then once your Fold 7 is done scanning the previous device, you'll be able to transfer literally everything from that old device to your new device. The next thing you'll want to do is fix your home screen, because by default it's split down the middle. So if I tried to take this widget and run it across the middle, you just can't do it. I can't even stretch it across either. So you're pretty limited in customizability on the main screen. And the reason it's doing this is because it's mirroring your main screen to the cover screen. So if I close my phone, you'll see that the first two pages match the left and right side of the Fold when it's open. So to fix this, we'll pinch in on our home screen, then tap Settings, then tap Cover Screen Mirroring, and set that to Off. Now when we apply this and go back to the main screen, you'll see that you can now have widgets run across the middle, and your main display and cover display will have completely different app layouts. And here's a quick bonus tip. If you want to have multiple widgets on your home screen, but it's taking up too much space, you can actually just long press one and drag it onto another one to create a stack. And now you can just swipe through the widgets to see the one you want. If you want even more customizability with how everything is placed on your home screen, you can pinch in again and go back into the home screen settings. And on this page, you can not only change the size of the applications themselves, but you can also choose whether or not to have app labels and even widget labels as well. Jumping to the cover screen, another thing we'll want to change is the app grid, because right now only 4 applications across the bottom really isn't that much, especially with this new larger display. So let's go ahead and pinch in here, tap Settings again, then tap Home Screen Grid, and change that to 5x6. That'll give us one extra space here and make things a bit more tidy. With the Fold 7, Samsung switched to a hole punch design for the camera instead of the under-display camera that was on the previous generations. That means that depending on how you're holding your phone, the hole punch may interfere with your video. Now, an easy solution is to just rotate your phone a different way, and obviously the hole punch disappears. But if you like to watch your videos in full screen mode, that hole punch is going to show up. Fortunately, there is a way to hide this. So the first thing we're going to do is jump into our settings. And I'm going to go ahead and close this video for now. Then we're going to scroll down to Display, then scroll a bit further down and tap on Camera Cutout. Now we're going to scroll all the way down to find any applications where you want to hide the camera cutout on. In this case, we want to hide it on YouTube. So we're going to tap Hide Camera Cutout. Now if we jump back into YouTube, it's going to add this black bar to the whole side and shift the video over slightly. So the video is not going to be quite as large, but at least we don't have a hole in the video now. And even if you maximize the video, it's still not going to cover that space. If you want to make sure certain apps stay open in the background, like maybe you're doing some shopping and you're adding some things to a cart, and you don't want the cart to just automatically empty itself if you leave the app for too long. Or maybe you're filling out a long form and you don't want to restart filling the whole thing out just because somebody called you. To stop that from happening, you just need to go to your recent applications, then tap on the app icon, then tap Keep Open. This will add a little lock icon and prevent the app from closing. And you can do this with up to 3 different applications. If you try to do it to a 4th application, the option will just be grayed out. And if you ever want to unlock an application, just tap the lock icon. The Fold 7 gets some new camera features that are off by default, so I want to show you guys where those settings are and when you should enable them. So let's go ahead and jump into the camera app. Then we're going to tap this 12M option here, and you'll see that you get the option for 50 megapixels or now 200 megapixels. Now this is an extremely high resolution photo that you can take, and it'll allow you to zoom really far in and see all the little details. But since it's 200 megapixels, it is going to take up a lot of extra storage space. So I only recommend using these photos for things like landscapes, cityscapes, or massive group photos with like 20 or more people in it, and you want to be able to zoom in and see all their faces later. The 50 megapixel option would be a great middle ground if you want more detail, but you don't need the maximum detail of 200 megapixels. So for most of your photos, you're going to want to keep this set to 12 megapixels, but I just want to let you know that that setting is there. Next, we're going to jump into video mode, and we're going to make sure HDR is enabled. This is a feature that allows you to capture more detail in the bright and dark areas of the video, and this does make a significant difference in video quality. The other thing you'll want to do is change this FHD resolution to UHD. Now, UHD is also referred to as 4K, and this is the resolution of most TVs. So if you ever want to play your videos back on a TV, you're definitely going to want to make sure you have it set to UHD resolution. 8K is an even higher resolution. Now, this is like an insanely high resolution, and I only recommend using this mode if you want to digitally zoom into the video later, and it's a memory where you really want to capture the maximum amount of detail. And while we're in the camera app, I also want to point out this icon here. It's available in pretty much every mode. And what this does is turn on the cover screen preview. So now that that's enabled, if I flip my phone over, you can see what these cameras see on the cover screen. And if you want to take a selfie with your main sensors, just swipe across this icon, and that'll move all the camera controls to this screen here. And if I were to flip the phone back over, you'd see that this side was not touch sensitive at all, except for in this little area right here to get back to the camera controls on this side. And that just means you could easily hold the phone with one hand to take the picture without having to worry about interacting with the main screen. This can also be accessed on the cover screen by tapping the selfie icon in the camera app. You'll then be prompted to open up your phone. And when you do that, you'll again be able to use the rear cameras for the selfie. And this is particularly useful for ultra-wide selfies if there's a lot of people you want to get in the shot. The default navigation method on the Fold 6 is to use these home, recents, and back buttons right here. But if you use this method and open up an application, you see that the whole bottom section is reserved for this little taskbar and those navigation buttons, and you're effectively losing a bit of screen real estate. So to fix this, we're going to pull down our quick panel and jump into the settings, then scroll down and jump into display. Then scroll down until we find an option called navigation bar and tap that. And we can switch this to swipe gestures. And right there on the bottom, if I jump back into the buttons, you'll see how much information is shown at the bottom. And if I switch to gestures, you'll see that bottom section fill in, giving a bit more space on the screen. This is a simple way to maximize your screen real estate without losing any functions. Since this is a foldable device, the next thing you should do is become familiar with flex mode. If you tap this little icon in the bottom left corner, when your phone is partially folded, you'll bring up flex mode, and the first thing you'll see is a touchpad, and you can use 2 fingers to scroll up and down or side to side. And if you tap in a text field, it brings up your keyboard. You can then tap the keyboard style option and switch it to a standard keyboard. And this is starting to work pretty well as like a mini laptop. And in case you're wondering, this does work in every application, but some applications get special features. If you're watching a video in YouTube, for example, you'll get controls along the bottom. And even if I tap this minimize icon to minimize the flex window features, you'll still get some native flex controls right inside the YouTube app. And the same is true for music apps. Another powerful use case for flex mode is with the live interpreter. If you tap this icon in the top right corner, then tap to start speaking, everything you're saying is going to be translated in real time on the cover screen. So this way you could just have the phone in flex mode on a table and the conversation is going to be translated in real time. So definitely test this feature out in a bunch of different applications to see what you can do. If you live in an area with pretty bad cell service and you want to make sure you can always make calls and send texts, at least from your home, then you're going to want to jump into settings and make sure Wi-Fi calling is enabled. This will use your Wi-Fi network to make those calls and send the texts, so it won't matter if you have terrible cell service. But just keep in mind, not every carrier supports Wi-Fi calling, and some carriers require you to take extra steps through the carrier app. While we're here, you're going to want to scroll down and tap this Quick Share option, and change the Who Can Share With You option from No One to Contacts Only. This will allow any of your friends with Quick Share capable devices to share full resolution photos and videos with you. And you're also going to want to make sure your phone name is something that's easy to recognize. So this is a pretty obvious name for my friends and family to recognize, so I'm going to leave it like that. And in case you're not familiar, Quick Share is just this option that appears whenever you go to share something. And if you tap this, you'll see a list of nearby devices that support Quick Share. And all you have to do is tap one of the devices to share to that device. If you ever use public Wi-Fi like at an airport, hotel, or coffee shop, then you're definitely going to want to check out this next feature. We're going to jump into our settings. Then scroll down until we get to security and privacy, then tap that. Then we're going to scroll to the bottom and tap more security settings, then tap secure Wi-Fi. This is Samsung's built-in VPN, and it blocks hackers from being able to see things like your bank login information if you're using public Wi-Fi. But a big problem with this is that it's limited to 1 GB per month. And it also only protects the phone, so if you're using a laptop, this doesn't help you at all. If you want even better protection and some really cool bonus features, then I'd check out Surfshark VPN, which is the VPN I've personally been using for years and the sponsor of today's video. Not only do you get more robust Wi-Fi protection, but you can also create an alternative ID. You can then use this ID on websites where you don't want to give away your personal information. All you have to do is copy the email from the generated ID and paste it into the website. Now, any emails from that website are going to be automatically forwarded to your personal email through Surfshark. Besides an alternative ID, Surfshark also lets you change your virtual location. This means that if you're traveling abroad, you can change your location back to your home country and still get access to your favorite shows on streaming services. Or you could choose a different country and get access to shows that are only available in that country. Surfshark is also one of the fastest and most reliable VPNs that I've personally used by a pretty significant margin. And one account covers unlimited devices for your entire family. You just need to log into the same account on each device and you're good to go. And if you go to surfshark.com/TechEpisodeTV by clicking the links in the description and pinned comment, you'll have the coupon code TechEpisodeTV automatically applied to the cart. And if you tap Get Surfshark, you can get the starter plan for less than $3 a month, plus get an extra 4 months for free. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you decide to cancel the subscription and roll the dice with hackers, you're free to do so. The Fold 7 has an incredible display, but we could make it even better by jumping into our settings and scrolling down until we get to advanced features, then jumping into that menu, then tapping video brightness and setting this to bright. This will increase the screen brightness and make the colors more vibrant for any videos watched in one of the enabled applications. So if you ever plan on watching a movie on your phone, definitely make sure you enable this. Now that we've improved the video quality, let's also improve the audio quality by pulling down our quick panel and long pressing the volume slider. This brings up an audio menu where we get Dolby Atmos controls. It's off by default, so go ahead and tap it and change it to either auto or one of the other modes depending on what you're doing. And if you're watching a movie and you can't quite hear what the people are saying in the movie, you can enable this boost dialogue option to make it easier to hear them. Or if you're watching a video where there's really loud and really quiet parts and it just doesn't seem that balanced, you can enable loudness normalization to kind of compress it back to normal. And of course, you also get equalizer controls. Samsung has a feature that lets you control every aspect of your phone from a Windows 11 computer. And this is exceptionally useful for doing things like sending messages. To set this up, just go to your settings, then connect to devices, then enable the link to Windows toggle. Now just follow the prompts to set it up. This massive inner display on the Fold 7 makes multitasking a whole lot easier. But there's a few things you could do to make it even more useful. And the first thing you want to do is make sure your app's edge is enabled. This should be on by default, but if it's not, just go to your settings, then scroll down to display and tap that, then scroll down and make sure edge panels is enabled. But then you also want to tap edge panels, then tap the panels option, and make sure the app's edge specifically is enabled. Once the app's edge is enabled, you want to then customize it. To do that, tap this little pencil icon, then you can tap any applications you want to add to the app's edge, and you can long press and drag them wherever you'd like. And you can, of course, drag two applications on top of each other to create folders. So once this app's edge is set up, you'll be able to access it from any page. So if I jump into the YouTube music application, that edge is going to stay there, and I can pull back in and then access a different application. But what makes this especially useful for multitasking is you can actually just long press on an application and drag it onto the screen to immediately open it up in split screen view. You can even do this from within the app's edge folders. Just drag it out of the folder and drop it where you want it. You can then tap the 3 dots in the middle and rotate the order of the applications, or you can grab the little bar and drag it to a different position. If you want to readjust the size of the app windows, you can actually just drag the bar slightly one direction or the other, and it'll resize the windows accordingly. Or if you drag it all the way towards the end, and you see the app color get a little bit brighter, then release, it docks the app on the side to give you mostly a full screen app with quick access to the other one. Now if I just tap that other application, I can switch back and forth between them. And if it's a group of applications you use frequently, you can tap the 3 dots again, then tap the star icon, and you can add that app group to either the taskbar, your home screen, or the app's edge panel. So if I tap app's edge panel and swipe in here, you'll see that trio added here. So now if I want to quickly get back to that 3 app pair, I just tap right here, and all 3 applications open up exactly where they were. If you wanted to add a 4th application, you actually can't drop it into one of the corners, but you can drop it onto the middle. And that'll open it up in a pop-up window which kind of floats around. This is really useful for the calculator if you want to do some quick math on something that's in the background, or for messaging apps where you want really quick access to your messages all the time. And if you tap the bar at the top of a pop-up window, then this little minimize icon, it drops it into this little bubble. And if you do it with multiple applications, it stacks all of them on their own little bubbles. And if you tap the stack, you can then select the specific application you want to reopen. The shortcuts don't stop here though. If I swipe up a little bit at the bottom to reveal the taskbar, I can long press on any of those applications and drag those out into multi-window as well. Now that you know how multi-window works, it's time to change some settings to make it even more useful. So let's go ahead and jump into our settings. Then scroll down to Advanced Features and tap that. Then tap Multi-Window. And you want to enable Swipe for Split Screen and Swipe for Pop-Up View. Swipe for Split Screen allows you to swipe in with 2 fingers from either the left, right, or bottom edge of the phone, and quickly open up another application in Split Screen View. Swipe for Pop-Up View allows you to swipe in from either the top right or left corner to create a pop-up window of the current application. And this would be useful if you're watching a video in an application that didn't natively support the pop-up video option. Full screen and split screen view is another great option, but to show you how that works, I need to open up another application first. So let's go ahead and open up this one. And if I enable this, you'll see that the application now extends further to the bottom and top of the screen. So there's the before and the after. So it just gives you more screen real estate for your applications. And the last option you want to change is multi-window for all apps. You want to make sure this is enabled. This will force any application to be able to open up in either pop-up view or split screen view because some applications actually have this feature turned off by default. You've probably heard of wireless power share, which lets you wirelessly charge things like earbuds on the back of your phone. But since the Fold 7 has screens on both sides of the device, there's actually something really special you can do. So we're going to go ahead and jump into settings, then scroll down until we get to battery and tap that. Then scroll down until we get to wireless power sharing and tap that. Then we're going to enable wireless power sharing. Now if we flip the phone over and place the earbuds on the back of the phone, they'll start charging and your screen will light up. Now if you go ahead and unlock your phone, you'll be able to use your phone while you're charging your earbuds. And if you want a much faster way to access wireless power share, stick around because I'll be showing you guys how to do that in a bit. If you ever use your phone before bed, you're going to want to protect your eyes from all that blue light to make it easier to fall asleep. To do this, go ahead and jump into your settings, then scroll down and tap Display. Then enable Eye Comfort Shield. By default, it's going to be set to adaptive, but if you tap the Eye Comfort Shield text, you get a few more options. Now what adaptive does is remove more or less blue light depending on the time of day. If you want to manually remove even more blue light, you can enable the Enhanced Comfort option. And if you really want full control, you can enable the Custom option, and this gives you a color temperature slider, and if you drag it all the way up, everything gets super yellow. But while this may not be the most appealing thing to look at, it will make it easier for you to fall asleep. And in the custom mode, you also get the option to set a schedule, and that can be always on, sunset to sunrise, or a custom schedule. If you also own a Samsung tablet, you can receive calls and texts on that tablet, as well as make calls and send texts by enabling the following feature. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our settings again, then tap Connected Devices, then Calls and Texts on Other Devices. Then we're just going to follow through the setup process. And once it's set up, you can see the other devices that you can get calls and texts on. And if you tap the text, you can actually select which specific devices you want to allow those calls or texts on. The next thing you'll want to do is make your quick panel more useful. To do this, you're going to tap this pencil icon. And the first thing you could do is rearrange some of these icons. So if you don't use Smart View or modes very frequently, you could just long press this and drag it up to a different position to get easier access to things like your volume and brightness. You can then drag this bar to show more or less shortcuts by default. And you also want to tap this edit option and add in any of your frequently used shortcuts. So this could be things like quick share, secure Wi-Fi. Maybe there's some times where you'd want to quickly disable Wi-Fi calling, and maybe you want faster access to wireless power share. You can then long press those shortcuts and drag them up to different positions. Once this is all set, just tap done, and the changes will be reflected. You can then tap panel settings, and this lets you change which side the panel's on. So if you're left-handed, you could switch it to the left side. And now you can swipe down from the left to get to the quick panel, and the right to get to your notifications. And here's a quick bonus tip. You can actually just swipe left and right when you're in one of these panels to get back and forth between them. Jumping back to the panel settings, you can also switch to the Together option, which is how the notifications used to work. And that's where you'd swipe down to see your notifications at the bottom and your quick toggles at the top. You could then swipe down a second time to see the full menu. And here's a quick bonus tip. If you're on your home screen, you can actually just swipe down anywhere on the home screen to bring down your notifications. And if that doesn't work for you for some reason, just pinch in to get to your editing screen, tap Settings, scroll to the bottom, and make sure Swipe Down for Notification panel is enabled. If you're ever using your fold in the open position, but you can only use one hand at the moment because maybe your other hand is full and you want to reach to pretty much anywhere else on the screen, it's going to be super hard because it is such a big screen. But there is a setting you can change to fix that. So let's go ahead and jump into our settings. Then we're going to scroll down until we get to Advanced Features and tap that. Then we're going to enable one-handed mode. Now if I'm using the phone with one hand, I can just swipe down from the bottom and that brings everything down into this little window. And that makes it a whole lot easier to reach whatever I need with a single hand. Then when I want to leave this mode, I just tap outside of the window, and it goes back to normal. And here's a quick bonus tip. You can actually switch which side this is on by tapping this little arrow here. You can also move it up and down the side of the phone by grabbing this little bar. And if you've got bigger hands and want to make this window a little bigger, you can drag the corners out to make it a little bit larger. If you want your phone to always be running as fast as possible, or you plan on keeping your phone for many years and you want to extend the battery longevity as much as possible, then there's two more settings we need to change. So let's pull down our quick panel, jump into the settings menu, then scroll down until we find device care and tap that. Then we're going to want to jump into the auto optimization option. And at the bottom of that, we're going to tap auto restart. This will give us two different methods to automatically restart our phone to help boost the performance. The first option is to restart when needed, and that'll have your phone automatically be analyzing the performance of the phone, and when it detects that the performance is getting degraded, it'll automatically restart your phone as long as the phone is not being used, the screen is off, and the battery is above 30%. So this would typically be when you're asleep and the phone is charging. The second option is to restart on a schedule. And this is a great option if you don't want to wait for it to automatically figure out when to restart and just do it yourself once a week. Though you can pick more than one day as well if you want. And I do recommend making sure the time is set to when you're asleep, because the last thing you need is this restarting when you're trying to use navigation while you're driving. To improve the battery longevity, we're going to back out of this menu, then back out again, and tap Battery. Then we're going to tap Battery Protection and enable it. And you'll see we have a few different options here. The basic protection is okay. It's going to let the phone charge up to 100%, then let the battery start draining until it gets down to 95%, and then charge back to 100% again. And the reason is because if you keep your phone charged at 100% all the time, it's going to reduce the lifespan of your battery. So personally, I would at least take this one step further and enable adaptive protection, especially if you charge your phone when you sleep at night, because this will charge your phone up to just 80%, and it'll stay at 80% throughout the night, but before you wake up, it'll finish charging up to 100% so that when you do get up, you'll have a full charge. Just keep in mind that the phone does need to figure out when you typically wake up, so when you first enable this feature, you may notice that you're not actually fully at 100% when you get up in the morning, but after a few days, the phone should adjust and it should start working properly. And if you really want to maximize your battery lifespan, you can choose the maximum option and make it so that your battery never goes above 80%. This will obviously reduce the battery life you have throughout the day, so I would play with these numbers to figure out exactly how much percentage you actually need to consistently get through a day, and then use that percentage. The Fold 7 is an incredibly expensive device, so you definitely want to make sure you never lose it and no one's able to steal it. So to do this, we're going to go ahead and jump into our settings and scroll down until we get to Security and Privacy and tap that. Then we're going to tap Lost Device Protection, and you want to make sure Find My Mobile is enabled. Now I've already enabled this, but once you've set this up, you'll be able to go to samsungfind.samsung.com, and once you log in, you'll be able to track your device's location and even remotely erase all the data in case it was stolen. But the security features don't stop here. If we jump back into the Security and Privacy menu, then back into Lost Device Protection, you'll see another option here called Theft Protection, and this gives 4 more incredible options. Identity check will require your fingerprint in order to change sensitive settings on your phone. So even if they know your PIN, pattern, or password, they'll still need your fingerprint to change those settings. Theft detection lock can automatically determine if someone steals your phone right out of your hand and starts running away, and if it detects that, it can lock your phone for you. Offline device lock will automatically lock your phone if the internet is turned off, like maybe someone turned on airplane mode. So even if the thief is trying to stop you from being able to track them, the phone's going to lock on them and they won't be able to do anything with it. And if you set up remote lock, you'll be able to remotely lock your phone at any time without having to wait for one of the automated services to lock it. So if you really want to maximize the security of your device, definitely enable these features. Since Samsung removed S Pen functionality from the Fold 7, the next thing you should do is restore about 90% of that functionality, including things like screen off memo, the handwriting to text features, and much, much more by clicking this video here. And if you're still looking for a great case for your Fold 7, you can check out this video too. That's it for this tech episode. Jesus loves you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one very soon.